After the end of the year, the accounts are tabled before the board to the shareholders, and action. So you find that sometimes it takes not more than 4 months after the end of the financial. In the public sector, we have more than 18 months, 24 months. I don't know what the experience here in the UK. And so this is creating lack of trust in the public sector. Can government be trusted if it will go and take 18 months for accountability process to be completed? The other problem with this general purpose finance statement, that is the more focus on the impeccable figures. And sometimes those figures don't make any sense. Like when you talk about government revenue, what is government revenue? When you recognize revenue on the statement of financial performance, is it when the budget has been approved by the legislature? Or is it when the ministry, a government department or agency has received the releases? So you have this varied treatment. Now when you have cash or accrual, the complication of it becomes worse. But then they lack linkage. You have the Auditor General issues opinion, separate report. The financial statements are not attached to them. Then you have the annual report also prepared by the ministry separately. There is no linkage. So what trust can you have? That's a challenge. But it's important to include the non-financial to the financial statements. And you get into the politics within the government. Who should prepare this non-financial and incorporate in the concern? Is it the accountant general or who else? So you again enter into the area of politics, power politics, and I have seen this in many countries. So governance issues relies increasingly on what has been appropriated and has it been respected. But when you have the problem of lack of budget credibility, then there's no trust in that. It is a long way to go. Was there value for money? That's what the citizens ask. The start-to-see project started. How much was spent? Was there value? The financial statements don't tell a story about that. And people lose interest. What can I trust on these accounts? What about the regional environment, where the procedures for executing the approved budget followed? Procurement law. And in many of these countries, you have problems about weak procurement management. People giving contract to their special agencies, or special vehicles are created to execute certain programs. But the financial statement don't disclose those associated interests. The other big issue is about, is our public finance management system working? And you know, the key objectives of the NAPFM system is one, the aggregate physical discipline. The other one is the strategic allocation of resources. That is, the budget should be policy-based. And this is why you hear of this medium-term expenditure framework, program-based budgeting, in order to improve the PFM system. The other one is on the efficiency of service delivery. Those are the three basic key strategic objectives of the NPFM system in the country. But this not at all captured in the public sector financial reports. And this is the challenge we face. How can you rebuild that trust if we only remain on reporting impeccable figures, which sometimes are not linked, are not make sense? The other problem that's many of the, in some of the African countries, the members of the Public Accounts Committee are not very much, have no financial background, they have no financial training, and so they have problems on understanding this financial statement. Is there any way we can make the financial statement more simple and understandable. What are the key information the public wants from the public sector? I think there is a way to make them more relevant and more informative. There is a need to move away from the private sector approach, where you have a one-fit solution, that you have, you know, the primary financial statement under IFSABs, or even IFRS, statement of financial performance, statement of financial position, the cash flow statement, the statement of changes in equity, then the accounting policies and disclosure notes. But when you look at this, are these really relevant for the person? It's a good starting point. But I think it's important to tailor them and embrace the public sector. The public sector is about aggregate physical discipline, strategic allocation of resources, and efficiency in the service delivery. That's what people want. It should be simple. What are the sustainable issues? There is another huge problem about consolidation, preparing consolidated financial statements in the public sector. And I have come across this thing many times. I had it in Uganda, and people don't understand consolidated financial statements. Recently, I was in another country on IMF mission. And to define what are consolidated accounts of a government is a big problem. You know, there's now a move towards devolution, where you have subnational governments taking a key role in the development of a country rather than the central government. So should the consolidated financial statement be based on the central government and then leave out the subnational government? According to the IFSABs 6, consolidation takes place when you have a controlling entity and control entities. And the definition is very narrow. Now, when you go to countries where there's a high level of decentralization, where you have subnational governments, these subnational governments have their own councils, and the councils work like the national parliament. They have their own ministers, they have their own cabinet. So resources flow from the central government to the subnational governments. So then they say, okay, in that sense, we are not under the